Hi guys, today I'm going to finally get around to doing the how to do black hair tutorial. And before we really learn how to draw the hair, we're going to have to learn what the types of hair are. You've seen that lovely curl pattern chart. That curl pattern chart is going to be your best friend. Most black people have hair in the 3 to 4 zone, around like 3B to 4C, sometimes 3A. It's usually around that, and you know the curl patterns in the 3 zone are curly, and then in the 4 zone they're coily, with 4C being the most kinky, coily, coarse hair that there is. Like the curls, they're really jam-packed together. And when it comes to hair types, 4C is really common among black people, but it's really underrepresented because a lot of people are afraid of drawing it, and a lot of people just don't find it attractive. Like that, and that's really sad because it is a very beautiful hair type. And that's what makes it really important to learn how to properly represent different textures of hair, because a lot of people have not represented that hair. They call it ugly, unprofessional, unkempt, and for years and years and years it's just been made like to something that's to be ashamed of. So it's very underrepresented to do 4 type hair, especially 4C hair in art and drawings and TV. And it's really important to learn how to properly draw if you're drawing fan art, so that we don't indirectly end up whitewashing the person. When I did my video covering Blacktober and race bending, a lot of people said, "What, changing the curl pattern is whitewashing?" Yeah, it kind of is, because like I said, 4C hair is very underrepresented. It's treated as ugly and undesirable. So a lot of black people relax their hair because they want to be seen as beautiful. And that's where the natural hair movement comes in, where a lot of black people are learning to embrace their natural 4C hair. And this is where the problems come in, where if you are drawing fan art of a real life person or a character that already exists, and you take their naturally very curly hair and make the curls looser, it's basically a slap in the face. What you're saying is that their natural curls aren't desirable, so you're going to draw something that's more beautiful to you. And that's really insulting. It's really offensive to a lot of people to do that. Like, I understand, well, maybe you're trying out a different style. A lot of black people are always trying out different styles. Maybe you're just trying to, you don't even know how to draw curls. Well, that's what I'm here for, to help you learn how to draw those super kinky, coily curls in your artwork. Alright, so let's get started. The first thing that I am going to do is a very, simple, looser curl. This is probably like a 3A, 3B style curl. It's very loose. It's more similar to my own curl pattern, where the curls, they're very loose. And what I do for this is I just do a simple squiggly shape. Just draw some S's, some curves, some squiggles. Make sure that you squish those curls together, those squiggles together, so that you can get that nice curl pattern instead of a wave. Because a lot of people get stuck on this, they start drawing intricate coils, or they do the curls way too loose, and it makes the hair look kind of loose, flat. The curl pattern's very 2C, 3A, rather than a legitimate curl. So to do a real curl, we just scrunch up them S's a lot together, and we start to see a pretty good curl right here. Alright, next we're going to go a little bit further, and let's scrunch up them curls a little bit more. Let's do an even curlier, an even tighter curl pattern right here. So again, we're drawing these little S's, these little squiggles, but we're doing it even smaller. We're packing them together even more. See, that's how curls are. The further in, the higher the number, the more tight them curls are. And see, this one is probably more... Okay, I said last time it was similar to mine. This one is more similar to mine, for real. This hair texture, it's very curly. It's very tight. The hair still looks kind of loose, a little bit wet, but this is a pretty common curl pattern for a lot of people with curly hair to have. All right, and up next, we're doing a much more coily curl. The curls are even tighter. You see those squiggles? They're even smaller than before. And this is really how I achieve this super like afro textured look. I just make the curls even smaller. And you might have noticed that for each hairdo that I've drawn, I've made the hair a lot shorter. This is on purpose. See, as curls get tighter, shrinkage becomes way more prominent. So basically, shrinkage is when, just like a spring, when the curls curl up, they squish up together, and when you stretch them out, you pull the hair, it's very, very long, and then boing, it goes right back into shrinking. And all right, here's now we got like a good gist of how to do curl patterns. We're gonna do some styles. A lot of little black girls love their hair bobos and their twisties. Oh, it's like such a quintessential little black girl hairstyle. Like, everyone's always doing the afro puffs, but not enough people really understand it. Oh, and by the way, I'm gonna show how I do some edges too. Basically, I just, right where the part is, we just do some little C shapes, add some S's in there, just little S strands, C's, just, see, when people do their edges, the curls that they shape tend to be pretty large, so don't be afraid to make them like very like large and wavy. That's the style. It's very in style, and you want to do it because it's pretty popular these days among everybody, honestly. And okay, see, this is how I do braids. With braids, I just basically just draw some heart shapes stacked on top of each other. That's the best way I can describe it. Now, if you want to do a much more detailed braid, I could show you guys how to do some more detailed braids, but for an anime style, when I'm trying to just get stuff done, I just stack some hearts on top of each other. And see, like a lot of little black girls, when they do their hair like this, they'll have multiple in their hair. So don't be afraid to get a little bit crazy with the amount of little ponytails you add in, because they're all over the place with the little clackers and bees. They're all over the head. Alright, here's our third style. This one is similar to the last one, but I'm showing how you can do like multiple parts in the head too. And this time I'm not drawing any edges in, but basically, just like the multiple braids are pretty popular with little black girls, a lot of little black girls will have their hair in multiple twists too, and they'll, like I said, they'll do a lot in their head, so they'll probably part their heads. The moms will part their hair in like multiple sections. So here's like some multiple sections of hair. And I'm going to show how I do twists. It's basically like half hearts. Just whoosh, whoosh, and then it's just like that. It's pretty simple. See, twists are made up of just two strands twisted together like a rope, whereas braids are made up of three strands wrapped around each other. So they're going to look a little bit different. Alright, and to end off these little black girl hairstyles, we're going to have to do these afro puffs. There was quite a controversy like a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, about basically a lot of white people were calling afro puffs space buns. And this like really like grinds my gears. Like, this really be making me so upset because, okay, I understand, fine, you want to wear them, whatever. But afro puffs are literally just like ponytails. I actually cannot get afro puffs because my hair is a little too long and loose for it. But it's basically just two twin tails on the side of the head. And as you can see, like, in order to achieve like the afro texture, I'm like drawing like very small like squiggle patterns on there. Alright, and since we finished up all the little black girl hairstyles, now we're going to do some braids. And this is actually a good strategy, and I'm going to show you right now how to do multiple different hairstyles using the exact same base. So right now I'm drawing some like tubular, they look like dreadlocks, and you can like end it off right here and just be dreadlocks without adding much more detail. But you see, make sure you also understand where like the partings and like the grids are, all that, where the hair is falling from. Make sure you pay attention to the gravity of it. See, like the locks, they're basically long strands of hair that just like are locked together, like in like these like tubular shapes, I guess. And you can use this strategy to do many different hairs. So you see, I am just drawing the basic like tubular shape coming out from the middle of the head. The hair is probably like tied in the back. It's like a pretty simple, really cute hairstyle. See, like I said, you could actually just leave it like this, and these would be perfectly nice looking dreadlocks for a character. But maybe you don't want to draw dreadlocks. Maybe you want to give them Sengali twists or something. So a good strategy is to just use this base. Use the base you already drawn, and then add the details in afterwards. And see, now we have like, I'm not going to do the whole head, but now we have just like the twist pattern. Now it looks like she has some twists coming out of her head instead of just like the long locks coming out of her head. And you can do this exact same strategy for braids too. See right here, I'm about to do my very simple like heart-shaped braids. Again, you can do way more detailed, but I don't want to. So yeah, see, the exact same strategy, just add in, draw in the shape of the braids, and then this will actually start to look like some braids. And you can also go ahead and get fancy at the end and draw in some little beads, some barrettes. I'm adding in just some simple beads at the bottom of the head. This is a very time-consuming way to draw some hair, but it's honestly really worth it in the end. It's just so beautiful to like, I have all these beautiful braids and beads in the hair. It's just so fun. Alright, and the last thing is, maybe you do want some locks, but you're not really into this like how simple it is. You could just draw in the details, and personally I don't do this when I do locks. I do not make them super detailed. I add in detail through the shading. I'm not super into how this would look in my own art style. This is a way you can just like kind of add in some depth to the locks to make it look like more than just some tubes hanging off the head, to make it actually look like some hair. So the next one I'm doing is, I'm just doing some more dreadlocks because I just did some before, and while I was like doing research, I was like, you know what, there are so many different types, I want to try at least one more. And this one is like freeform locks. There's so many different types though. There are sister locks, there are faux locks, which is just like, it's exactly what it sounds like. Micro locks, you can get really, really, really teeny weeny locks together. I know people who have their hair locked up like that. And then there's like, they come in all different shapes and sizes, so I would think it's really important to like look into the different types of hairstyles you want to draw. Look up on YouTube like how they're formed, how they're styled, how the person puts it together, so that you really get an idea on how to like visualize it in the 2D space. Because like I said with the twists, there's two pieces wrapped together. Once you know that, once you're familiar with that, it becomes a little bit easier to like draw it because you know how it goes together. And with like this, you can see I'm not really like too worried about making sure each piece is like perfectly, like not symmetrical, but like symmetrical, you know, like perfectly put together. It's a lot more, it's a free form. It's much more free. It's much more like, wow. You know, it's like that. And I would actually like, I know most of the hairstyles, I mean, you can give these hairdos to like anyone. But I know that a lot of the hairstyles that I've drawn so far seem to like lean more like feminine. I would say this one, I've seen more guys have their hair in like freeform locks than I've seen ladies. So You can give it to any gender, obviously. Hair does not have a gender. You can give anyone any kind of hair that they want, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if you guys are looking for more like masculine hairstyles or more hairstyles that would make more sense for your guy characters, here's a good idea. But this one I feel is very gender neutral. I will be drawing more male, like much more male hairstyles, like fades and stuff, just not in this video. I wanted to focus on like braids and stuff like that. So anyways, let's move on to the next hairdo. Anyways, I kind of just rambled on about locks. Like, I'm kind of passionate, well, not like super passionate, just more like jealous of my family because they have such pretty locks and I want them, but I know I'm not going to be able to get them because I have extremely severe ADHD and it's really hard for me to commit to something like that. But anyways, this is actually, I don't ever really do cornrows, but I figured it would be a good idea to teach people how to draw them. So, and I had references, a lot of references open, but basically what I'm doing right here is, like I did with the locks in the first part, I'm doing some very simple like outline bases just so I know where to draw the braids. And cornrows, they're like French braids, like Dutch braids, kind of, where each individual braid is attached to the head. It's like rows of them just like kind of stuck to the head. I don't really know how to describe it. You know what they look like though. They're not regular braids. They're like kind of locked into the head like that with individual strands. And basically what I'm doing right here is I'm just drawing the braids on top of the base outline I made, just so they look right. And I'm also giving them some strands of hair where the part lines are, just to like show that the hair is like on the head. A lot of anime honestly will not even do that detail and would probably just leave it at what these like chunks I've done before, but that's more of an animation thing than like because the animation needs to be simplified to like be animated, so it's really purposeful to do that. But for me, I do not animate, so I am going to add in those details. You don't have to if you don't want to. You can simplify it as much as you need to if you're an animator or something like that. But for me, I'm not, and I like to detail my art, so I'm going to detail it. And at this point, I'm starting to realize this is going to take forever, so I end up skipping ahead. But like, you really see how adding those details in, it really like makes the hair look like actual hair rather than just like clumps stuck to the head. Yes, I know that character's forehead was very small. Anyways, now we're going to do like some quick coloring. We're going back to the roots, which, get it, roots. We're going back to where we started though, with some curls, a simple hairdo. And what I do is I usually just outline where I want the shadows to be. I know a lot of people don't like when I outline and fill, but I work smarter, not harder. And besides, I could always go back and fill it. If you want to go back and fill your own art, just use the fill tool, bucket tool, fix up them little things with the pen, all that. But anyways, I'm going in there with that to like add the shadows in. And see, I don't just add them on the edge, I add it in like the middle and stuff too. It adds a lot of depth to it that wouldn't be there before. It makes the hair like look like a 3D object rather than like a flat thing. And then I'm gonna use the airbrush tool and all that to really like soften it up. And while I'm on the topic, I did talk about it in my old Patreon tutorial, so if you've seen that, you probably know. Basically, the curlier the hair gets, the less of a glossy sheen it's going to have. So when you're drawing like super like coily curly hair, you're not going to want it to be like super shiny satiny. Like, no, that's not realistic. That does not look right, because basically, I'm not really sure how to explain like the science behind it, but there's a science behind it. But like when it's like the hairs are like crumpling up together, like curling up together like that, there's more surfaces for light to bounce off of, and it bounces off of all those surfaces. So overall, the look of it is going to like have a more overall like lighter look rather than like a glossy sheen. And that's what I'm doing with like the airbrush and the little dots of shine, is to like represent the small like patches of light bouncing off that you get from like curls, rather than it being like an overall just like shiny sheen that you would get from a much more straighter hair texture, you know? And then like I'm just going to go in here and like add in some more details. And this is basically, you can finish right here, but I'm not going to do that because I like to be a little bit extra. And this is just one last thing that I do to really just, for all hair, just to make it pop more, to make it look more pretty, to just add that little something something. I just add some individual strands to it. It makes the hair look more real, in my opinion. It really just adds something much needed to the hair. So we have some very small curls just sparsely glittered around. And that's all, folks. Oh my god, I am so sorry that this took so long. Like, my excuse is basically ADHD, but like, oh my god, it was just also the editing process was taking me so long, and I was just getting kind of stuck. It took me a really long time, but I'm finally done, and I'm definitely not done with this series though. If you guys have any more like questions or like suggestions for like different hairstyles I could do, please let me know. I'm definitely going to be adding in more kinds of hairstyles as I can think of some, like fades, bantu knots, basically anything you guys can like think of. Let me know if there's anything you want to learn about more, how to draw basically. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Hopefully it'll be out really, really soon. Anyways, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Tell your grandma, tell your brother, tell your mama, tell your kitty cat. I know y'all kitty cats be on the computer. See you guys. Mwah! Love you.